Hi guys, it's Steph from IDRIVEACLASSIC. Now, today's video is basically a selection of highlights from the NEC Classic Car Show 2019. It's been an amazing show, but my only criticism is that there was so much there that I couldn't get around everything. So in the book, basically I went through, so you get a guidebook, and I picked up my favourite stuff, I went to see it, and I tried to get around as much as possible. I also tried to film some of the more unusual stuff as we walk around. So in this video today is my first half. So you've got a lot of the British Leyland stuff, you've got Metros, you've got Morris Minors, but you've also got a few other things that I've thrown in quite randomly, like the Ford Probe, like the Metro 6R4. Actually, that's probably not quite unusual because that's me. So yes, I hope you enjoy it. And before anybody moans about the background music, the NEC was pumping out pop music everywhere, and it really plays havoc in terms of how you can speak to people and in terms of filming as well. So I've just kind of had to put a bit of a backing track over certain bits, especially Hall 8. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you've got any questions, pop them in the comment section below, and don't forget the next video to go live will be section 2 of the NEC Classic Car Show. Come on, where else would I start but the Metro Owners Club, one of my favourite cars. And as I went through all the halls, actually, I noticed that there were a lot more Metros than there had been previously, and it's really great actually to see that in the 39th year of production, because next year it's 40 years of the Metro, there are so many Metros here. So as we go through the 2 videos, so this is part 1 of 2 parts, you'll see I've got different Metros featured. Now, just as a side note, I haven't been able to feature every single car at the NEC because, number one, I think I would have been here for years. I probably could have put videos up. I probably could have done a whole year's worth of videos of all the cars here. So as a side note, I have just picked my favourite stands and some of the cars that I like the best, and I think some of the most interesting to show you guys. And so yes, anyway, I've blabbered on a little bit as I've shown you all these different cars, and of course one of my favourite Metros, the Applejack Metro. Now really it's time for me to speak to somebody from the Metro Owners Club to find out more.
Hi, my name's Adam and I'm from the Metro Owners Club, and we're here on the NEC stand this year, and our theme is Top Trumps. So we've had one of each mark of the 4 Metros produced over the years, starting with our lovely Applejack number, which is owned by club member Matthew Lynch. The only surviving Applejack Metro on the road, and it's a very base model with the early interior and the early fascia, so it's in great original condition, but Matthew's going to have it restored next year and invest quite a lot of money in it, so it'll be worth more than your average starter home by the time it's finished. But it's a great little car, and we're really pleased to have it here. Next is the Mark II, which is the later of the Mark IIs produced, 1989 into 1990 model, restored by its owner, James. It was previously his wife's car for many years, and after losing her, unfortunately, to cancer, he decided to restore it and bring it back to absolutely gleaming show condition. It's a marvellous car and a real credit to the effort that he's put in. Got our Mark III, which is a really rare Rover Metro GTI. In its day, the top of the range Metro replaced the MG throughout the 80s, and when the Mark III came along they replaced it with the GTI. This one's owned by club member Alex Mills, and it's done 21,000 miles, so it's in pristine original condition. Not many of them left, most of them ended up wrapped around trees or stolen and burnt out, so it's nice to see Alex is here in great condition. And then our real star of the show is the last Rover 100 ever produced. Rolled off December 1997. After some terrible NCAP safety reports, the Metro production was finally ceased for the Rover 100 at that stage, and it's been kindly lent to us by the British Motor Museum, so we'd like to thank everybody there for lending that to us and having it here. And usually we haven't been able to polish it because it's been signed in permanent marker by every employee at Longbridge that worked on the car, but it's a really lovely thing to have here, and we're absolutely delighted, so thank you.
Now let's have a look at the GCCG. Now, for those of you who have never heard of them before, it's the Gay Classic Car Club, and it's for people around the world, but mostly in the UK. They seem to do a lot of stuff in the UK, who identify as LGBTQ+, or who are a supporter and an ally. So I fit into the supporter and ally box, and I've always been made to feel very welcome. Now, the GCCG are incredibly friendly and always have a really good stand, really good cars. In fact, I've never seen anybody in the GCCG with a rubbish car, actually. They always put on a good display. They've seemed to be at every car show. They do lots of different events up and down the country, which is really no surprise that they've won lots of different awards for being best car club. They've won all sorts through different years. They won something at the NEC this year. So they're doing really, really well. And I guess one of the questions that people always put to things about this is, why does the GCCG exist? And I guess that if you don't, if you're not somebody who sits within a minority, you may not understand what it feels like not to feel safe or to feel comfortable. I mean, every car club nowadays says, you can feel welcome, you can feel safe, but there are still people out there who make people feel awkward because they don't fit in that, that heterosexual mould. And I guess the GCCG is a really great place for people who just want to feel safe. They just want to, turn up and enjoy the cars without somebody making them feel a bit awkward, or, putting them in a situation where they feel they have to compromise who they really are. And for me, I'm a massive supporter. I think it's a great club. It's really friendly no matter who you are, and I've heard on the grapevine they throw the best parties as well, even though apparently that's not what it's all about, but it definitely is. So yes, 3 cheers for the GCCG, because I think they're fabulous. I think what they're doing is great, and I think it's a massive asset to the world of classic cars, and I hope they continue doing what they're doing and they go from strength to strength. Now I'm going to catch up one of the guys for the GCCG to tell us about the cars.
Hiya, I'm Alan Webmore, and I'm one of the area organisers for the Gay Classic Car Club, and welcome to our stand. This year we are National Car Club of the Year, and to celebrate that we have a street party. So welcome to our street party. I'd like to show you some of the cars we've got on our stand this year. We have a 1955 Volkswagen Beetle. This is a bit different, this Beetle, because it's got a split window in it, and apparently it shouldn't have a split window. Whoever has put one in, it should be 2 years previous to this, so it's a bit of a special Beetle, this one. We have a 1990 TBR 350i, which is owned by Clive Hunt Batch. This literally only came out of the body shop yesterday, and it literally drove it straight here from the body shop, having had the front resprayed and restored. As you can see, it's a really lovely convertible Tourer. Next we have 1970 Mini 1275 GT. Now this year is 50 years of the Mini Clubman with the square front end, and this is owned by our lovely Tanya Field, who many of you know. We've then got my father's Herald 1360 convertible, which is 1968. Sadly my dad couldn't be here, so I brought it up on his behalf. He is a great follower and a member of the GCCG, which is amazing. And then we have a 1979 Citroen GS, which is owned by Matt. This has obviously got the suspension that rises up and down. And we try and get an eclectic mix of cars on the stand because the club is such a diverse bunch. We cater for everyone within the LGBTQ+ community.
Hi, so I'm Richard Morris, I'm co-founder of Racing Pride. We're here with the GCCG at the Classic Motor Show this year. Racing Pride is a new initiative launched in June this year with the support of Stonewall UK to actively promote LGBTQ+ inclusivity through motorsport.
This for me is where the obsession began, Morris Minors. And if you recognise this one, it's because it's Collins. So it came on Minors on Tour with this, which is helpfully advertised just over here. And there's quite a lot of different things going on in this stand. So although there's the Top Trump theme, so you can see the sign coming up that says nothing trumps like a minor, which is fantastic, by the way. They've also got a bit of a gay pride theme going on, because it's I think it's either 50 or 60 years since the first Pride. And something that, you know, I always champion LGBT rights, and it's so refreshing to see so many stands here this year that are really embracing that are welcoming new members, that identify, and to be honest, it's a really positive step forward for the world of classic cars, and it's so exciting to see. Now I'm going to show you around this little camper. It's quite cool actually. Now, if you recognise this vehicle, it's because it was on George Clark's Amazing Spaces. Unfortunately, I didn't get time to talk to the owner because, look, there is so much to see at the NEC you would not believe. But I wanted to give you guys a quick sneak peek inside. Now, I'm hoping that if the owner's on here or watches this video, they can make contact with me, because I would love to do a proper video of this. You know, a couple of minutes doesn't really justify everything inside. It's so cool. And it really shows how, you know, you can take a vehicle which looks quite small and turn it into something special. Now, these are some of the gay icons, my favourite being Princess Diana, and the stand organiser Peter's car, beautiful car called Rebel, and I'm just going to pan out and show you some of the other cars as well. They've got a nice little seating area. The MMOC is always so well. Depending on which side of the fence you sit, I'm now at the Vanden Plas or Vanden Plas stand. Now, I've even on the stand actually, they were debating whether it's Vanden Plas or Vanden Plas. So we'll just go with VDP because it's a lot easier and we're not going to argue. So Vanden Plas was the name of the coach builders who basically produced bodies for specialists and kind of really top end car manufacturers, and basically at some point in time it then became like the absolute top creme de la creme luxury spec for cars sitting under the British Leyland and Rover group. So you could have even got a Vanden Plas or Vanden Plas, depending on where you sit, Metro. I mean, you could have got it across everything, and there's even a VDP Metro here actually, which belongs to Jamie in our club. And I guess what I wanted to do was show you guys some of the special details inside the cars, tell you a little bit about it, but also I wanted to catch up with the owners club, one of the heads of the owners club, because he actually came across and grabbed me and said, you know, we recognise that as we get older, we need younger people to continue the good work that we're doing. And for me, that was hugely refreshing, because I thought, you know what? It's really nice that people are seeing the value in younger owners. So I rushed straight over to kind of get some time with the guys, because I wanted to find out, you know, what they were doing about the cars and stuff. And if it's a name that you haven't heard in a while, Vanden Plas, it's because it was last used in 2009 on the Jaguar XJ8. So it's quite a while ago. It's 10 years ago. Jesus. But at the time, you could have got all sorts. And I think the stand is a really good, it's, you know, I feel, in my opinion, the stand has been built without snobbery, because they've got everything from, you know, from your Rovers to your high end, even right down to your Metros, and I love that. And for those of you debating whether it's Vanden Plas or Vanden Plas, it's Flemish, and because the business began in Brussels in Belgium, and so allegedly you do say it Vanden Plas, but some people do say Vanden Plas. It's just, look, it's one of those things, we're just going to go along with it. So they began in 1870, Vanden Plas, and they continued on through, I think, well, the last car was 2009. But, you know, it's the Vanden Plas name has been on everything from, you know, Armstrong Siddeley through to Bentley, Daimler, Rolls-Royce, Talbot. It's been on absolutely everything. So to have it on a Metro, I guess, probably seems like a little bit of a climb down. But it's great that there's a club for these cars, because I think sometimes with the passage of time, the specialness of the Vanden Plas badging is lost. People don't quite understand the value of it. So it's great to see that they've got an owners club that really celebrates that and is looking to take that forward into the next generation. And I hope that you've seen, as I've walked around the cars and have been able to show you some of the stuff, that it is, you know, it's a really special thing, and it's something that, you know, we don't tend to see anymore. And I'm really pleased that they're here actually. I've got to see some great cars, and I hope that you guys have enjoyed seeing some of the detail. And PS, this Montego is absolutely superb. I love it.
Well, welcome to the Vanden Plas stand for this year. Normally we have the older cars and show year after year, but this year we decided on having a post-80s theme, and so all the cars that we've got here are of the newer variety, and we've got the Ambassador on this side, which is top of the range, down to the little Metro that you'll see in a moment right in the centre of the stand. and basically we're looking towards attracting the younger people to come forward and take an interest in these cars. And we've already had 3 people this morning, and I'm very pleased that they're going to come back. They're going to have a walk around, and then they come back, and we can fill them in with some more details. But there we are. Have a look at our cars, and as I said, these are the younger variety, and these are the ones that we're promoting in our post-80s theme for this year.
The BL cars don't stop here. Sorry. So for those of you who have never seen one of these before, this is the Austin Maxi, and it's quite an exciting year for the Maxi because I know we've all heard about it. I think it's like 60 years of the Mini, but look, it's also 50 years of the Austin Maxi because they were first made in 1969 and they rounded up making them in 1981. I guess it was exciting. Well, a bit of a weird time really because they introduced the Metro in 1980. So I guess that there was a point in time, well, in 1981 you could have bought Jill or you could have bought an Austin Maxi, and to be honest I'm not sure what I would have picked because I do particularly love the Austin Maxi. And a little bit of history for you guys that maybe don't know too much about them, but if you've watched any iDrive Classic videos before, especially from car shows, I always get fixated with the Maxi because it's one of my favourite BL cars. It was designed by Sir Alec Agonis, who look, he's one of the best car designers of all time. I'm going to stick my neck out on the line and tell you that. He did some various bits for, he started with the Austin 7, he did some bits with the Austin 7, I believe he raced a supercharged Austin 7. He went through, he designed the Morris Minor, he designed the Mini, he designed the Land Crab. Look, that I've only just started. Incredible man, incredible designer, and you know, I think you can really see his expertise coming across in some of these cars. They're just absolutely sensational. So this was BL's first hatchback, so that's why at the time they said things like the Allegro, they were like, you know, you're not getting the hatchback because they wanted the Maxi to be the hatch, though, like the leading hatchback. So it was, you know, it was put out there as, you know, you've got 5 doors, and it's also the first BL car to have the 5-speed box as well. So exciting stuff. Now I'm going to show you around the NEC itself. Now this might strike you as strange seeing a bus at the NEC, especially if you've never been before. So a lot of people think that the NEC, so you know, it's a lot of people know it's the NEC Classic Car Show. A lot of people think it is just going to be cars, but they have a lot here. They have motorbikes, there's the Retro Caravan Club, who we're going to meet in video too, because I'm splitting this video into 2 parts, and you know, they've got buses as well. So I saw this bus and I thought, you know what, I actually do quite like old buses, and I know that quite a lot of you guys do too as well, because I've had people say, oh, can you review a bus, can you jump on a bus? So this is as close as we're going to get to a bus review for now. I thought I'd hop on the bus and show you around it. The museum guys are ever so nice. So this has been brought down by a museum, and in fact as I said, I don't know too much about buses. So once we've had a look around the bus, they've actually offered to pop on camera, talk to us a little bit about the museum that have brought it down, and talk to us a little bit about the bus as well. So this bus is, you know, my sort of era. I think it's 50s, 60s, and it's you know, it's a beautiful bit of kit, and as well it's very original. I do like originality when you see stuff like this, because it must be so hard, because if you think about it, it's a bit like commercial vehicle. Well, it is a commercial vehicle, but it's a bit like, you know, when I took the freight Rover out and they end up getting battered. You expect buses, you know, not to survive to this, you know, this level. I mean, look at it, it's absolutely gorgeous, and it's been, you know, painstakingly looked after, repaired. It's a lovely bit of kit, and it deserves where it was sat in the NEC. So it was sat, as you walked in one of the halls, it was sat near the front. So at the front of each hall they have kind of different bits and pieces. Now let's have a look upstairs in the bus. Now, as you can see, these stairs are hideously steep. It's really difficult to show you, but I feel like I'm crawling up on my hands and knees. Look how steep they are. I was I was quite frightened. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to fall down these steps. I never, ever go to the tops of buses because I'm always frightened. I'm so clumsy. I'm always frightened I'm going to fall down the stairs. But I wanted to show you guys what it looked like. And I thought, you know what, we're probably not going to get another chance to film up here without loads of people. Because once people kind of clocked that we could get on the bus and have a look round, it was super busy. But I wanted to show you some of the finer details of it. It's a lovely bit of kit. And I just thought it deserved a bit of time on the video, really, to show you some of the bits and pieces. I'm sure for some of you this bus is going to be probably the highlight of the video. Now it's time to hop down the stairs, aka I'm going to pretty much fall down them. So look how steep they are, honestly. It's no wonder that I was absolutely terrified. Right, let's catch up with somebody from the museum and have a chat about this bus as I fall down the stairs. P.S. have a look at some of this sign writing, it's brilliant.
Right, my name is Dave Taylor. I'm trustee at the Transport Museum at Withall. We're just south of the NEC on the M42 near Junction 3, and we have an outside and inside museum with nearly 90 vehicles, buses, fire engines, electric vehicles, milk floats, bread vans and that type of thing. We were founded in 1977. Well, we moved onto the site in 1977 and it's developed since then, and we're quite a good family attraction as well as just an enthusiast attraction. So we get a lot of visitors throughout the year, particularly during school holidays when they can ride on our buses, and bank holidays when we have special events. This bus particularly is a Midland Red type code LD8, which is actually short for a Leyland double-decker type of that Midland Red helped to develop the front end of, but that was about it. So after the war, Midland Red built all their own vehicles, but due to the shortage of vehicles available, they also bought from main manufacturers such as Leyland, and this is one of the batch that they bought in 1953. The bus ran for Midland Red until 1970s when it went to Foster Brothers Clothing Company as staff transport, always in the Birmingham area, and in 71 it was purchased for preservation by a group associated with our museum called the 1685 Group, and after a bit of a stop-start restoration it eventually finished being restored in 2010 and is now a resident at the museum and gives rides on our event days. So that's us, that's the Transport Museum Withall, and that's this bus.
Now, one of the things that people said they really wanted to see when I was doing this video was just a bit of a representation of what the NEC is actually like. So I thought I'd actually film for you anyway, the walk for me from one hall to the next. So I filmed on the Friday, which is usually your quietest day, but I was chatting to, if you watch him, you'll probably know who he is. I chatted to Pete C, who does all the Ford stuff on YouTube, and he was telling me that because he did the full weekend, because he was working on Carol Nash, he said that this year Sunday was absolutely dead, but yeah, he agreed as well. It was super busy. It almost made it quite hard to get around some of the cars. So I guess that if you're coming from abroad or you're picking one day for next year, usually I would have always told people to pick the Friday, but I would actually probably say pick the Sunday, because although, you know, if you're after bargains on things like the auto jumble, you're probably not going to maybe find all the bargains that you want to find, but if you're only here to see the cars and the other vehicles, then Sunday probably seems to be your best day nowadays. But yeah, as you can see, I was filming quite early in the morning by this point. It was only an hour into the show, so as you can see, it's absolutely chocker. But I wanted to show you guys how it's laid out, so you can see that even as you walk between the halls, it's all really spectacularly laid out. There's different cars on display, there's bonnets up, some stands do interactive elements. So in the next video we'll get to meet the Retro Caravan Club, where you could go into the caravans and they had like little displays up and stuff. Some people will even let you kind of get in the cars. So again, in the next video we'll get to go and meet what they're called, the DeLorean stand. Gosh, I should remember that. The DeLorean stand. I'm going to go and meet them in the next video. They were quite happy. They said, you know, you can get in the car if you want. So yeah, so it's good really, because there's a variety of different interactivity levels. There's a variety of different cars. There's rare things here. My only thing is that because it is such a fantastic show, it is incredibly busy and it does make it very hard to get around. So I'm heading now into Hall 8. It's very different this year. So some years they've had different stuff. We've been in it as part of the Morris Minor Owner Club, but this year it seems to be quite a mix of your more modern classics. So I'm going to go and take a look around and pick out some of my favourites, which are judged for things like the 6R4, the Metro 6R4, because I love them, right through to some of the things like the Ford Probe, because you just don't see them anymore. So yes, you've already probably spied, there's some great cars here. So let me show you some of my highlights from Hall 8. Now this is an NE Metro, this is an MG Metro 6R4, so this is a little bit different and you may not have seen one if you're abroad. It was designed for Group B rallying, so in 1980 I believe, Austin Rover retired their TR7s that they'd been racing with, and they were like, right, let's do something different, and Group B rallying was a little bit more loose, so they could do a little bit more with it, and so they said, right, let's step up, let's do something different with the Metro, because basically John Davenport, who was chief of the British company's motorsport division, decided that a small car would make a small track look bigger. So essentially it was kind of just that, it was almost that. It was that vision, and then they followed it through. So the engine, which you'll be able to see, is mounted behind the driver, whereas obviously usually it's under the bonnet. So there was a lot going on, a lot of people involved. Ex-Cosworth man David Wood came in, helped design the engine. All very kind of well put together. And then it had its press debut in 1984, and basically they did a massive thing because to be fair, Austin Rover were really good at like mad press events. So all the journalists were there watching a film of the prototype, and then as the film reached its crescendo, the car was basically driven towards the camera, you know, in the film, and then an actual real 6R4 burst through it, driven by Tony Pond. And if you know anything about motorsport, you know exactly who that is. So the early cars were painted a little bit like this red, and it was to mimic the early Coopers that they'd done. Now it was kind of just a little bit very Austin Rover actually. Everything was all too little too late. So in 1985, in March, the 6R4 took its first win, but by the October things were kind of petering out and it wasn't going so well, and they sold off. Austin Rover stepped out of motorsport in 1987 and they sold off all the cars, and thankfully some people have stepped up and these still exist. So yeah, interesting to see, and some fantastic cars on show. Again, another car that you never see anymore is the Ford Probe. So it was a coupe produced by Ford, introduced in 1988, and they ran the production all the way through to 1997. And if you think this looks a little bit like, you know, kind of a more Japanese sportier type of car, then you wouldn't be wrong, because they were produced in collaboration with Mazda, and so they had two generations of Probe, and both of them were produced with the front wheel drive Mazda G platform that they'd used on the Mazda Capella. Again, they were assembled in the United States, so maybe if you're watching from abroad, you've maybe seen a few more of these more recently than me. But yes, very interesting car to see at the NEC. Now let's see what else we've got. Now, many of you know that I'm not really a VW person after my disastrous lifetime experience of owning a Mark II Golf. However, I saw these Corrados and I thought, do you know what? I'm definitely going to include them because it's a car that you just don't see anymore. It used to be one of those cars, a bit like things like your Maestro, that you used to see all the time and now you just don't see at all. So for those of you that want a few facts on the Corrado, Corrado is made from 1988 all the way through to 1995. You could have got, there's quite a few options you could have gone for. You could have gone for everything from a 1.8 petrol all the way up to a 2.9 VR6. Again, like most of the cars of this era, you could have gone for a manual or an automatic. And if you're wondering where it kind of sits in that VW 80s history, it was launched 3 years before the end of the Scirocco production. So it's kind of, you know, it's kind of running alongside that for a little while. And it was actually dubbed, it's been really well regarded in reviews and things, and it's been regarded as one of VW's best ever driver cars, and the VR6 that I mentioned just now was listed as one of the 25 cars you must drive before you die. Again, and these are big magazines that are reviewing them. It's Car, Auto Express, and also slightly less prestigiously, MSM voted it as one of the cool cars that we miss. And yeah, it is a cool car that I miss. If you got one to test drive, I'm keen. I really hope you've enjoyed NEC Part 1. Part 2 I'm working on as we speak, or as you watch. And I really hope you've enjoyed this video. I tried to show you some different stuff that I saw, including some more modern stuff that I usually wouldn't pick. And yeah, it's been, honestly, the weekend was crazy, and I really hope you've enjoyed it. There's a lot going on at the moment, as you probably know. I've been applying for jobs. I've still not got a job. Been doing some film work and stuff, so I'm sorry that videos have been all over the place, but I hope to get back to usual as quickly as I can. But until next time, take care and drive safely.